Got my Gatorade Zero right here. Got the purple one. Always love the purple Gatorades. Shout out to them. And we'll wait to get a few people up in here, but today we're going to be talking about the Siders family. That's what the big news stations and news channels are calling the Ohio House of Horrors, right? So yes, we're going to be covering that case. For the people that don't know, that's out of Southern Ohio, and there was 16 children and 4 adults living there. So 20 people living there. Also, allegedly, there's been some pets living there too at the time. So you had a lot of living things, whether it's animals, people, bugs. I mean, there was a little bit of everything in that house. Now, shocking video footage has come out and images have come out of the home and what it looked like inside the Siders family home. So if you guys haven't saw that yet, I would recommend, well, if you have a strong stomach, I would recommend checking it out. Gives you a little bit more information and lets you kind of understand a little bit more what exactly these children were going through and what these adults allowed the children to go through. Absolutely stunning, absolutely horrific. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. So let's let some people get up in here. We're also going to be talking about the Nancy Guthrie case a little bit, not too much, because as you guys know, if you've been following that case, well, it's quite hard to get information out of anybody within that case at this time. And you guys know I've been covering the Lynette Hooker case as well as Brian Hooker. That's the case of the missing missing Michigan woman that was at in the Bahamas with her husband at the time, Brian Hooker. And she went missing, quote unquote. But most people that have been covering this case believe Lynette was unalived. Now, I must state at this time, this is only my opinion. Everything is alleged, and everyone we discuss is innocent until proven guilty, of course. So welcome in, guys. Nice to see everyone. Let me see what we got here. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. Just reading some stuff that was sent to me. All right. But anyways, so yeah, we're going to be talking about the Nancy Guthrie case, the Siders family, Lynette Hooker and Brian Hooker, and maybe a couple more things as well. For everyone that doesn't know, Lindsay Clancy. I've been covering the Lindsay Clancy case, excuse me, since day one. And her trial, well, jury selection is about to be underway this coming Monday. So I'll be updating you guys on the Lindsay Clancy case as well a lot. Now, I'm not sure if I will be watching her trial on live with you guys, but I know for a fact I'll be watching that trial. So definitely look out for me covering that case. And if you guys are just jumping in, I would ask if you can, please like the video and sub up if you want to. It helps the channel dramatically and keeps the channel going. And it's completely free and it helps a big time. So, but anyways, besides that, guys, let's get into the House of Horrors, okay? Now, when I saw this video footage and these pictures of inside the Siders family home, I nearly threw up. And, so people outside walking past this house were saying that they could smell what it smelled like on the inside. and on the inside, allegedly, it smelled like feces. Okay. Now the pictures, the videos, that's what it looked like as well too. Completely a complete mess, and just horrific to see the inside of that home. You know, trash stacked up. You had bugs on the walls, and it's one thing to be poor, right, and to not have money, right? You know, I grew up my whole life not having money, for the most part, and right now, you know, it's not like I have a lot of money, so you can be broke and still keep your home clean, right? Like my home is always pretty clean, and it's always going to be that way because that's just something you should do as a person. You should keep your home clean. You should, you know, keep it at least a little tidy. Now, with 20 people in a house that small, that's going to be nearly impossible to keep clean, right? And my AC is going, so guys, if it's a problem, let me know. Definitely let me know. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot about this case right now. A lot about it, guys. Diaz said hi. What's going on, Diaz? Nice to see you. Hope you guys are doing good today. It's nice to see everyone joining and jumping in. We got a lot to go over today, guys. So, a lot to go over. But I'll wait for everyone to get back in. YouTube just crashed, so. But we got so much to discuss in these cases. Now, I wish we had more to discuss in the Nancy Guthrie case, of course. But we just don't have too much to discuss in the Nancy Guthrie case. But there is a couple things that I want to say in that case. What's up, world? It's nice to see you. Hope everyone joined in. It's having a great day. Now, I will say something quickly about the Nancy Guthrie case. Allegedly, a student of Tommaso put out a message and said that he had been a student of Tommaso's for a while, a couple years. Now, I don't know all the intricacies of what Tommaso taught and how long he taught, the years, all that stuff. I don't know all the intricacies of that. What I do know is this alleged student said that he was asked, how tall is Tommaso? This student allegedly said he was 5'9". Kind of strange. Now, I've always made it clear that I do not believe Tommaso was the porch guy. I've always said that covering this case. However, it is kind of weird how it has come out now that Tommaso is allegedly possibly 5'9" from a student, a prior student, former student. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So a little tidbit of information in the Nancy Guthrie case for you guys. And it's still justice for Nancy every single day. I'd be praying that we can get some justice for Nancy Guthrie. It has been so long now. So long, guys. It's almost unbelievable. It's almost unbelievable, guys. What's going on, Nick? Nice to see you. Nice to see you today. But we're going to talk mostly about the case, the Siders family case. So that's where we're going to be getting a lot of information out. What's going on, user? What's going on, username? Nice to see you today. Yes, buddy. Where are you based? We're out of Massachusetts. So shout out to any of my Bostonians out there. But shout out to everybody, all the fans worldwide, all the followers worldwide. You guys make this possible. And I always try to get the information out to you guys because I know people that follow my channel, they want the truth. They want the truth. They want it quickly. And they want to know what mainstream media is hiding, right? And I'm always going to be able to put out that information that they may not be putting out. Always trying to show you guys the truth of the situation. What's up, Balloon? Says, say no to the rugs. Yes, say no to the rugs. Shout out to that. And got that nice water. I am the most hydrated man in America, allegedly. So I still need that Poland Spring sponsorship. One day we're going to get it, guys. One day. But until then, I'll be here covering this true crime like you guys want. What's going on, Scott? Good morning, good sir. What's going on? Nice to see you today. Hope you're having a great day. Name said, nice to meet you, brother. What's your live stream about? So my lives are always going to be about true crime. Now, my videos that I post on my channel are mainly remote viewing session results videos, and the people that I do the remote viewing sessions on usually are based out of missing persons cases. Now, it might not be the person that's missing themselves, but it could be a family member, you know, somebody like that. That's mostly what my channel is about. And my lives are always going to be about true crime. And my videos are mostly remote viewing session results videos. And sometimes I'll throw a little something else on there too. Scott said, so far so good. It's going to be a great day. That's what I'm talking about. Nice to hear that. I love the good energy today, guys. Great energy, and that's a good way to start the day. Right now it is, let's see, 8:36 a.m. right now, guys. Pretty early right now, guys. Name said, cool, that's awesome. I have subbed. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Appreciate that so much, guys. Brown said, is your water distilled? I just get straight up Poland Spring. Usually I like essential water, but it's super expensive. But that is my favorite water. For anybody out there that wants to know, essential water is bomb. Just saying. Name said, are you in a trailer? Nope. In a home. Yep. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the Siders case. Okay, guys. Now, one thing that absolutely blew my mind was the fact that people walking by the house could smell inside the house. When the wind blew a certain way, they could get a whiff of everything. And that is just crazy, right? And they said it smelled like crap, literally. So, pretty crazy, guys. I don't know how people were living inside that home if people outside could smell like that. Like, how, you know, it's a miracle that these children survived. Like, praise God, praise Jesus himself that these children survived, right? Because I don't think most humans could survive that if they weren't accustomed to it. Just being real with you guys. Pause for Love said, when did you go live? I've been live for about 15 minutes. About 15 minutes. What's going on, Pause? Hope you're having a great day today. Oh, hold on, guys. Hold on. Hopefully I'm not vibrating you guys. You know, hold on. But anyways, guys, so let's get back to this. Pause said, something is wrong because you weren't live on my end. Yeah, YouTube crashed right away. I started to go live, then YouTube crashed, and then it ended up working out. But yep. But we get a lot of time this morning, guys, so don't worry about it. I'm taking this one nice and slow. We got a lot to talk about. And we got a lot of cases to talk about. Now, I'll give you guys a little tidbit of the case of Lindsay Clancy. Now, this case originally from Duxbury, Massachusetts. As you guys all know, I'm out of Massachusetts, lived in Massachusetts my whole life. Lindsay's defense is now is going to be. Let me just make that clear, okay? I believe that her defense is going to be postpartum psychosis, caused by, obviously, the this case. The doctors were prescribing Lindsay different medications that shouldn't have been prescribed to her altogether, right? Maybe one of the medications, but Lindsay to have a warped sense of mental state, right? So I knew that this was going to happen, so to use as a defense, way, right, to beat the case. Time will tell, but I think that this is her best shot. What's going up, Mazarees? What's going on? Hope you're having a good day today. Let's see. Name said, a bit off topic. Prices in America, like for instance, I'm in the UK and it's around 10 to 12. If I wanted to buy 25, 30 acres, how much would that be? Do you know? I have absolutely no idea how much land is in America. I'm assuming it's extremely, extremely expensive, just like everything else in America right now. Prices are absolutely crazy, guys, and it's just not right now. I'm sure it's like that all around the world, though. Let's see. Pause said your live's cutting out. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. There's a lot going on. A lot of people sending me stuff right now. Mazari said, hello. Where are you from? Massachusetts. Boston, Massachusetts. Scott said, depends where you want to live. You can find very cheap land in rural areas around 1K an acre. Ah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that sounds right, though. That, in certain areas, Scott said Kentucky and West Virginia is cheap. Yeah. Kentucky is always going to be cheaper, from my understanding, especially Southern Kentucky. Yeah. Username said, sorry to bother your live, brother. You just seem like a chill dude. Oh, no problem. I don't mind at all, Sometimes I get a little off topic. I'm sure the viewers mind, right? But, sorry, guys. I get off topic sometimes, but we get right back on it. And I like to keep this as a safe space for everybody. We can talk about anything as long as it's not harmful in any way. And I treat the people in here like family, respectfully, respect each other. I don't mind at all, guys. I'm not one of those people that gets up on here and is like, oh, you can't mention a creator or you can't say this to a creator. No, if y'all want to talk about a certain creator, go right ahead, go right on ahead. Username said, I own 9 horses, rent land, but I'd like to move to USA. Wow. 9 horses. That's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. Username said, my land is to own more, but land is very scarce and expensive here. Oh, the plan. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's a good plan. And land is always something that's going to be valuable, right? Even if it ever goes down, it's still going to remain valuable, which it probably won't ever go down. But yeah, I've never ridden a horse or anything like that. I would like to. I think that's pretty cool. horses are majestic, right? So I think that's pretty cool. And they seem like cats. I've heard that, and I know that sounds weird, but I've heard that if a horse senses your fear at all, it will become a little bit fearful itself. Whereas cats, they notice, if you're scared, they're scared of the thing. Username said, haha, they ain't making more land. That's right. That's right. Scott said, Kentucky would be perfect for you. Many horse farms there. Plus you have the Kentucky Derby. Oh, yeah. Shout out to the Kentucky Derby, right? That sounds pretty cool. Pretty cool, guys. And so let's bring it right back to my family case, guys. So I don't want to get too far off of the Siders family case, but I do want to allow the conversation to kind of go whichever way it may, right? Let's see. Charlie said, who is this? Oh, we're not going to entertain that. There's no reason for any hate at all. I think that you need a mirror, sir. Let's see. Pause said, I would love to go horseback riding. I've never been horseback riding, but I've been to the racetrack many times. Wow. Yeah, that'd be so cool just to try to go horseback riding, I heard it's very tough, kind of. Pulled my groin back in the day, so sensitive a little bit. But yeah, I was playing a sport, right? Basketball, of course, and I wasn't warmed up, so started training, started practice, and boom, pulled it. It was pretty bad, but long don't hurt that too bad. I'm down to go. User said, personally, I'm scared to ride, but my partner is a professional jumper. She does all that, but not for me. Wow. Shout out to your partner. That's awesome. Professional jumper. But yeah, it's not for everyone, right? Everything isn't for everyone. But if you guys are just jumping in, please like the video and sub up, guys. It helps the algorithm. And I go live once or twice a week, usually on Wednesdays and Thursdays, allowing everybody to hop up on here and get talking. But we got a Diet Coke popping off this morning. Cheers. Charlie said, who even are you? I'm Zach. I am Zach, the infamous Zach. Scott said, I'm fascinated by all the missing people in America. It's mind-blowing. If you're fascinated by that, you're definitely going to be fascinated by my videos that I post on my channel about the remote viewing session results video. Now, a lot of these videos that I post, I end up calling what ends up happening. Like my recent Nolan Wells remote viewing session results video. I said that I did not believe Nolan passed away on that island. I was guided, and I thought that Nolan was brought to a specific area. Also, I stated that the boat taking on water was true, but it was because of a fight. And it has come out that there was allegedly some fights going on of that area. So when I post these things, I do it because I get called on from spirit by God, in my opinion. And then I allow you guys to see what I post, to see what I am feeling, and what spirit brings to me. And I will always do that. I have been doing remote viewing now for over 13 years. I always try to target a specific target before I do my sessions. Then once I do that, I allow myself to get into the transcendental state, and I am able to be guided by what I call God. Scott said, how can so many people go missing? It's truly shocking. It's truly shocking. America has a very big problem when it comes to traffic, ING, if you know what I mean. Not that driving traffic, but something else, But just keeping it classy for YouTube standards when I say this. However, I wish I didn't have to. So I wish I could be point blank, period, and tell you guys exactly the way it is. But I try to be as close to it as I can. But America does have a problem with that. as well as a lot of missing children, no matter what. Username says how many people missing. It truly is. Charlie, if you don't like my channel, that's okay. You can always get to stepping, but if not, I'm glad to have you here. I appreciate each and every one of my viewers. And this is a channel about true crime. I break a lot of content when it comes to when something first happens. I always try to break that right away. Scott said, when I was in Alaska, around 1K people a year would disappear and was never found. Very scary. When I was a kid, they would put pictures on milk cartons, different kid every day. Yeah, Scott, that's true. Whatever happened to those milk cartons, you know? I get why there's not it's not like that nowadays. However, the more notoriety that goes on in the world, the better. So I think they should continuously do it. They should still do it. I'm not sure if they stopped doing it, but I haven't seen them. So I would assume they stopped, but I think that they should continue to do it, because not everybody gets information like we are right now from people on YouTube or from, the news or whatever. Sometimes they get it from the milk carton or the newspaper still. Some people are old-fashioned, and that's very understandable, and I respect that as well. But even I remember that. I know I don't look too old, guys. Guess my age. If you guys want to guess my age, go ahead. I know some people have been in here for a long time. Some of you guys are OG members of the channel, so you guys probably know my age. But a lot of people probably don't. But if you don't, take a guess. Like I said, I'm a little bit older when it comes to, I've been able to see that stuff on the cartons too. Wow, Scott, nice guess right there. I'm 31, going to be 32 in September. Paul said, it does let people know what's going on, though. So many missing persons lately. Yeah, it's just one more way. It could be one more avenue to allow people to understand what's going on in the world and somebody that's missing. It's so sad that there's so many missing persons cases every year. And if you think about it, right now, someone's going missing in the world. And probably again right now. And how tragic is that, right? Sometimes I'd be like wanting time to kind of speed up, or just, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish it was tomorrow, right? But if you think about it, that whole day that someone may be thinking about that is a whole day of people going missing, of crime, of violence. Sometimes that whole day, there could be a person wanting to give up and take an exit, right? Give up on themselves, their lives. So we have to value and cherish every single day that we have here in this world. We truly do. Because we never know when it's our time to go. And that could be the same thing can be said for our loved ones, our friends, and anybody. And so, I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with anxiety. I still deal with it. I've dealt with PTSD. I still deal with it. Childhood PTSD. And I'm letting you guys in a little bit right now to know a little bit about my life. And so I've dealt with really bad depression at times, right? But still, I've never wanted to give up completely, because there are people out there that are fighting to stay alive every single day. And knowing that keeps me going, because there's always somebody that's willing to climb up from the bottom, to hit rock bottom and still keep going. Somebody that has nothing materialistic, but they still strive to continue onward. And so I will always strive to continue onward. And for anybody out there that's struggling with anything like that in their lives, I'm always here, guys. I'm always here, and I always will be. Let's see. Scott said, well said, brother. Stay strong. You too, Scott. You too. Paz said, what do you think of the Brooke Hanlon case? I did not see that case yet. Pause. Actually, I've not witnessed that case yet. I'll have to check that case out. Let me write this down real quick. The Brooke Hanlon case. Hey, hold on. Let me write this down real quick. All right, wrote that down now. Scott said, "Are you familiar with Pat Price?" I am not. Is that a missing person, Scott? I am always looking for new cases. I have I guess, what do we call it? An affinity or something about cold cases. I love studying cold cases. Just so you guys know. Paz said, the 35-year-old mom who was unalived, I think her husband did it. Listen to the 911 call. All right, I'll write that down as well to make a note about the 911 call. Hold on one second. All right, I made a little note. I just recently did a remote viewing session on Jennifer Provenzel. Or Provenzel, I don't know how you say her last name particularly right. However, when I did that session, I was shown that I believe her husband did it. Now, this is allegedly at this time, but that is what I was shown. Scott said, a famous remote viewer who found a base under Mount Hayes in Alaska, then was canceled. Wow, Scott. Okay, I'm going to write this down. This is big news to me. Yeah, just recently they tried to, a lot of people tried to go after me. And some cases, I am weeks ahead of the public and public knowledge with the truth. I come out weeks before the public gets the knowledge. And, I don't think the higher ups, I call them the higher ups, but you guys know who I'm talking about. I don't think those people like people like me that do the kind of work I do. And so if you guys support people like me who do the work that I do, who put their lives on the line to do this type of work, please like and sub to the channel, guys. I'm always going to be here covering true crime, and I'm always going to be doing my remote viewing sessions. I think it's very important that I continue to do these sessions in order to allow the public to be notified and to allow the world to be notified that there are people out there with gifts like this that can help impact these cases. And a lot of law enforcement doesn't allow people like myself, people with disability, to be used, even though they are willing to be used for their abilities to help these cases. A lot of law enforcement does not like that because they are trained to only follow the facts of the cases, right? And somebody like me who does what I do, we go off a lot of intuition, feeling, that just overwhelming sense of knowing. Sometimes people get the chills when they know, like I do. And I think it needs to be more public. I'll say that. But I'm going to write this down about Pat Price. Surprised I haven't heard about this yet, but it's good to know. It's always good to know. Pause said, this case was just announced 2 or 3 days ago. Yes, Jennifer Provenzel, good remote viewing session. Thanks. No problem. So Pause, you're saying the Brooke Hanlon case is just a few days ago? Let me make a note of that. Scott said, how did you get into remote viewing? Very good question, Scott. That's a very good question, and I'll answer it for you right here. So back when I first realized that I had a certain gift or a certain ability, it was around 10, 11 years old, 12 max. And it was certain little things that would happen that I'd be like, wow, I knew that was going to happen, right? And that was basically the basis of how everything started for me. Now, when I really started to own it, and to zero in on what this actually wasn't till years later, around 17, 18 years old. So in between that 6-7 year gap, it was me questioning myself, me understanding who I was, learning about this, trying to figure out if this could be given as a gift from God. Because I'm a Christian. I don't know if a lot of people know that or not, but my faith is strong. And so in the beginning, I didn't know what I was really working with, what I was messing with. But I came to the conclusion that this was a gift given from God, because I was going to use it in a right way, in a proper way. But when I hit about 17, 18, I started to want to make a difference in the world. But I was still scared ultimately, because I didn't know how the public was going to receive this or perceive this, right? Because perception can be reality in a lot of cases. So I started practicing remote viewing. I started looking into it. I started to understand it, and not only understand that more, but I understand myself more. And so I started practicing. I started meditation. Meditation was a big beginner of remote viewing for me, because it allowed me to be able to be clear, to think clearly, right? And the way that I do my remote viewing is through meditation. A lot of it has to do with that. So without learning meditation first, I would have probably never been able to remote view. So there was a lot that led up to it, but that's kind of a long story short. I know it was a long story kind of, but that's a little bit of it, of how I started to get into this. And the more that I looked into it, the more I realized that this was for me. And eventually I said, you know what? I don't care what others are going to think of this. I don't care how they perceive it. The right people that are meant to view this are going to view this, and it's going to help the right people that's necessary. And so I said, all right, I'm going to make a channel, because just doing my remote viewing wasn't helping anybody. I was learning a lot about all these cases, and I was realizing that I had a gift and I had a real purpose. So then I realized, okay, well, doesn't matter what anybody thinks, I'm going to do this for real. And then I started to make a channel. And so now you have it. Let's see. Scott said, definitely look into Pat Price. You will be amazed. I'm definitely going to. Scott said, awesome. Thank you. No problem. And he said, how is remote viewing and astral projection different? It's so different. So different. Personally, I do not like to astral project. Astral projection is not for me. However, it can be different for everyone, just like everyone that has psychic ability works it in a different way, right? But astral projection for me was pretty frightening. It was very frightening. Astral projection is basically a way to control certain events, and remote viewing is more so allowing spirit and whatever you call or consider God to guide you through these events. And when I do remote viewing, I always target something. So like the Summer Wells video that's going to be coming out today. I was going to drop this the other day, but I said, you know what? I'm going to drop it today for you guys. So breaking news on that. I'm dropping a remote viewing session results video on Summer Wells today. And what I targeted, this is a little tidbit of information regarding the Summer Wells video that I'm going to share with you guys. But what I decided to target was a very peculiar and interesting piece of information, okay? It wasn't just how did Summer Wells pass, right? It was where did Summer Wells pass? And I wanted to so badly understand this because there are so many different, I guess, variations of this story of Summer Wells. And in this case, I really wanted to decipher where at the time, with everything going on, ultimately did Summer Wells pass. And I think you guys are going to be shocked when I share this video with you guys a little bit later on today after I hop off this live. Pause says, I need to write that down. I didn't hear about Pat Price. Yeah, definitely write it down. This great guy is always going crazy. Yeah, no, I'm just living my life and sharing with the world my my abilities, you know, my God-given abilities. And praise the Lord, right? Praise Jesus for allowing me to have these abilities. And I'm blessed. So thank God for that. And I'm just sharing it with the world, sharing it with everybody that's wanting to know. Because there could be people in the chat right now that may have an ability, but they may not have practiced. They may not know the direction to go in to practice. And I'm allowing people to understand that, you know, if they reach out, I'm right here to let them know. No need to call me that. This is a safe space for people to discuss anything true crime related. And we don't need people like that in here that are just going to be like that. But if you do want to stay, that's okay. Just be respectful. That's all I ask, guys. But anyways, let's get back to the topics, right? I told you guys we're going to talk about Lindsay Clancy a little bit. And I want to get back into this topic. Lindsay Clancy out of Duxbury, Massachusetts, who is allegedly accused of unaliving her children, as well as jumping out of a window and trying to unalive herself. Now, she lived, right? But she's in a wheelchair currently. Her children did not live. Allegedly, she used an exercise band to unalive them. And she is claiming the defense of psychosis, postpartum psychosis, due to doctors prescribing her multiple different medications after her pregnancy, and her psychosis, of course, through the postpartum right after it. Now, I think this is the best defense she can have. This is the best chance she's got. But I just want to kind of break this down for you guys a little bit, because we see this crazy headline, right? We see this crazy case that's going on. And I just want to remind everybody that no matter what happens in this case, whether she gets proven innocent or guilty, those children that she had are never coming back. Her ability to walk may never come back again. And the children did not deserve anything like that to happen to them. You know, not even a spanking, right? And they were unalived brutally. Now, one thing I do want to state is that allegedly Lindsay sent her husband about an hour away, approximately 50 minutes. Okay, this whole thing took from there and back. So this event occurs. She sends her husband to go get this food. And while he's getting the food, Lindsay is allegedly at home, strangling and unaliving the children, as well as jumping out of the window or jumping out of the top floor of that house, trying to unalive herself. Now, she did have the wherewithal to know that, okay, I'm going to send him on this errand to get food, and then I'm going to do this right then and there. can you have this clarity, this clear sense of thinking while you're and going through psychosis? I guess that's going to be for doctors to determine and for the jurors to really determine. But I say that it's extremely sketchy. And, you know, this may sound really harsh, but I am harsh on people that hurt children. So I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I don't want the fact that, you know, she can't walk and the way she looks to play a part in her guilty or not guilty verdict. I want this to be looked at as a case of, did this woman do this on purpose? And would she have done this if she wasn't on these meds and if she wasn't going through postpartum and psychosis? And even was she, right? Because I could see jurors looking at her and being like, okay, this girl has been through enough. We're going to find her not guilty, that type of thing. I'm not saying that's going to happen, not saying it is. But I could see that being a case of where their minds could be at, right? But I just want to remind these jurors and these people around the world that are looking at this case that the children would still be alive today, most likely, of course, if Lindsay didn't do what she did. And just play that in the back of your head when you think, is she guilty or not guilty, right? Because the children that didn't survive would still be here had Lindsay not done that atrocious act. Now, I understand more now so than I did ever about postpartum and depression. And postpartum, I've seen in many cases now. Ever since I've started covering true crime, I've seen it be brought up in many cases. Before I started true crime, I had heard about postpartum, but I didn't know much about it. Now that I've studied it a lot more, I understand it a lot more. And I do believe that Lindsay Clancy was going through postpartum depression and psychosis. I believe it. Because I studied the medication she was taking, how she was acting, who she was before, prior, and after. And I honestly believe that doctors prescribing a lot of this medication definitely screwed Lindsay Clancy up. Now, the problem I have, though, is if she is going through postpartum psychosis and all of this depression and everything, should she still get the max punishment? And I'm glad I'm not a juror, right? I'm very glad I'm not a juror in this case. Because quite honestly, I don't know what I would do. Because I believe she was going through what she's claiming as her defense. But the children are not here. So it would be very difficult for me. But juror selection starts this upcoming Monday. So next week. So this trial is going to begin real soon. So I'll be covering the Lindsay Clancy case, of course, for everybody to see. And I'll be giving my opinion on this case and this trial for as long as it lasts. But I hope that these children can get justice in this case. Now, we talked a little bit in the beginning of this live about Lynette Hooker and Brian Hooker. Now, I still think an indictment is coming very soon for Brian Hooker. I know last week I said this, and I said that it would happen probably within 2 to 3 weeks. I'm still standing on that. We have a week or 2 weeks to go until I believe it's going to happen. Now, if it takes longer than that, or even much longer than that, I'm okay with it. The reason I'm okay with it is because prosecution wants to, dot their I's, cross their T's, and make sure that they have all of their evidence in order to make sure Brian pays, to make sure Brian Hooker pays for his crimes and for all the time that he wasted, all the lies that he spread about Lynette, about where Lynette was, about what boat Lynette was on, about the accident. Did it happen on the dinghy? Did it happen on the soulmate boat? But evidence has come out that leads us to believe that Lynette made it back to the soulmate boat. And evidence has come out to lead us to believe that the soulmate boat is where this tragic event occurred that took Lynette's life, allegedly. Paz said, I hope so. Justice needs to be served in the Lynette Hooker case. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We've been covering that case here since day one, and I'm making sure that there's some justice in that case. I'm spreading the word. I'm letting people know the knowledge within that case, and I'm going to be a voice. I'm going to be a voice. Kellyanne said, good morning. Good morning, Kellyanne. Always nice to see you. Great to see you this morning. We've been live for a little over 40 minutes. We've been talking about quite a bit of cases. If you're just getting here, we talked about the Nancy Guthrie case a little bit. We talked about the Siders family, the House of Horrors, of course, out of Ohio. Now we're talking about the Lynette Hooker, Brian Hooker situation. So we're talking about a lot this morning, guys. But if you're just joining in, please like the video and sub up. It helps the algorithm big time. But apparently there's a lot of evidence in the Lynette Hooker case right now that isn't being shown to the public. And I don't think it should be shown to the public, quite honestly. Do we want it? Do we want to see it? Yes, of course. But quite honestly, I don't think we need to see it right now. Kelly said, do you have any more thoughts about Nancy? Very good question, Kelly. You know, I do. I have a lot. You know, there's a lot to be said about Nancy Guthrie. There's a lot to be said. And I'm going to be putting out a Summer Wells remote viewing session results video a little bit later on today. So check into that. But I had an overwhelming feeling a couple days ago. And this is very crazy, but I'm going to share it with you guys. I shared it with my mother. But, you know, I was just sitting there, and this overwhelming feeling came over me that either the Nancy Guthrie case or the Summer Wells case is going to be solved soon. And I said to myself, why do I feel like this? Why are both these cases coming to me at the same exact time? Because they're completely different, right? We have an 84-year-old missing woman, and then there's, well, at the time, Summer Wells was 5 years old missing. Now she would be 10. But why am I having this feeling when these cases are completely different? One is an elderly woman, and one is a very young child. But I guess, you know, I think I still stand by it. I think one of these cases is going to be solved soon. Kelly said, my question with Nancy, how did she vanish without a trace? And why aren't the family looking for her? Yeah, Kelly, that's been a question since the very beginning about why the family wasn't looking for Nancy. I think that in the beginning, when these ransom notes were going out, and Savannah stated that she believes one or two of the ransom notes to be real. And those ransom notes allegedly were the ones stating that Nancy had passed away. So Savannah and the family most likely knew that Nancy had been gone earlier than the public, of course, right? However, that still doesn't answer the question of why she wasn't being searched for by her own family. Right? Kelly said both cases are similar in some ways. You know, they are, right? Because people don't just vanish like this. And I thought about this really hard, but maybe both bodies will never be found. right? And I don't want to say that, right? I don't want to, but maybe that's why I was thinking like that, because I kept wondering, why am I having this feeling about both these cases? But as you guys see, when I post the Summer Wells remote viewing session results video, I think you guys are going to be pretty shocked about it. Pause said, it was recently stated that they believe one of the ransom notes was from a woman. Yes, that has been noted, that a lot of people are stating, former FBI, other people are stating that they think it may be from a woman because of how the words were written, how they were said. I personally think that the person was using Google Translate, and that's why you're getting some of the words the way they were. Because when I was learning Spanish, I used a lot of Google Translate. And it seems to me like this person may have been doing the same thing. Not learning, of course, but using it. Kelly said, somebody knows something, and why isn't anything being brought to the forefront? Speaking of that, I want to let you guys know, apparently just the other day, and I'm talking yesterday or the day before, it has come out that now people are using Nancy Guthrie's name, trying to scam others. Now, what they are doing is they are saying, whoever these people are, they are saying either online or through text messages, I don't know yet, I'm still trying to figure this out, but they are saying that they are trying to raise money for the Nancy Guthrie reward. And that's their like whole situation. They're saying, okay, we're trying to raise money for the Nancy Guthrie reward. If you can donate to this. And they're using her name. And that is just terrible, right? But that's the new thing. So guys, don't fall for it. If people wanted to add to the reward in any way possible, in any way, shape, or form, they wouldn't be doing it like this. And the reward is already at 1.25 million. So the reward doesn't really need to be any bigger, to be honest with you guys. The bigger the reward, the more BS that's going to come in. And that's even what happened in the beginning. The reward was at a little bit, and then when it jumped to the millions, people started sending in false tips. So do with it what you will, but that's the way I see it. Ruby said, hi. What's up, Ruby? Nice to see you this morning. I hope you're doing great. Always nice to see you. Paz said, Dr. Brucato mentioned this as well. Look up Dr. Brucato. He's good. Yes, he is good, Paz. I actually really like Dr. Brucato. He's very subtle, but he gets his point across very well. And he's smart enough to not have to be loud. He's a subtle person that's very, very educated. Kelly said, you won't believe what happened to me, Zach. The other day I got a voicemail from being Mad County Sheriff's Office. Wait, hold on. Kelly said, but obviously it was they didn't give any information of who to contact. Very suspicious after following the Nancy case. Huh. I think I got what you're saying here. Wow. Yeah, you got to be careful, you got to be careful. And I think this case with Nancy Guthrie has made people be more careful, quite honestly. Because everyone's like, oh, not my neighborhood. This wouldn't happen in my neighborhood. Let me tell you guys, I'm from the hood, okay? I'm from the hood, okay? And it can happen in any neighborhood. And just because you live in an upper class neighborhood doesn't mean it can't happen there too. And if you live there, most likely it could happen there because these people are starving, right? Some people are out there and they're on their last breath of air, so to speak. You know what I mean? And they're willing to do anything for anything. So just be careful, guys. Be careful. Oh, Kelly said, oops, Pima County Sheriff's Office. Oh, okay. So let me read this again. Kelly said, "You won't believe what happened to me, Zach. The other day I got a voicemail from Pima County Sheriff's Office." Wow. That's crazy, Kelly. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't trust it. Pause said, "I'm getting so frustrated with the Nancy Guthrie case, still not knowing who the porch guy is." It's crazy, guys. Things are getting crazy. We're like almost 6 months into this, I think. So, right? I think my math's mathing. Crazy. And it's hard for me to believe that they don't know who this is, or they don't have an idea of the group of people that this is. Flower said, "Hey, Zach, how's Dirk? Haven't seen him in a while." What's up, Flower? Nice to see you. Nice to see you today. You know, good question. I should see if Dirk's ready to come in. 1 second. Nope, not yet. Not yet. But Dirk's doing good. He's a good boy. I just fed him this morning and he went right on out. What's up, Sean? Nice to see you today. Dirk's my cat. He's the best. He's 5. He's a panda. No, I'm just kidding. But he's black and white. But yeah, I love cats. Cats are the best. Pause. So that's good. I want to see Dirk too. Yeah, we need to get him in here, you guys. Flower said, "Dirk's the star of the show." Aw, you remember, Flower, you know. Dirk's the star. You know, I do want to make a statement too. I think with everything happening, because I've been very vocal and I've been an open book with everything. I think that everything was necessary because I needed to see who was with me, who was against me, and who was just using me along the ride. So I just want to throw that out there. And for the ones that are here, the ones that have had my back and continued to show support, continued to show love, and knew that the hate channels weren't going to prevail, I appreciate y'all so much, you know? I've always tried to do my best, the best that I possibly could with everything that I can. You know, I'm only one person, but one person with a lot of power, one person with a lot of abilities, one person with a lot of God-given talent. And so with all of that, you know, kind of comes the quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." And I needed everything to happen the way that it did to show me who is actually with me and who is truly against me, even though they were acting like they were with me the whole entire time. But I figured it out, and I appreciate everything that happened the way that it did. But with that being said, let's get back to the cases. Like I said, guys, sometimes I get off topic, but we gonna steer it right back on. Woo, woo. We're gonna do the swervo. No, I'm playing. I love you guys, but let's see. You know, we just talked about Lynette Hooker a little bit. I talked to you guys about the Siders case. We talked a little Nancy Guthrie, but we can talk a little bit more Nancy Guthrie. Let's talk a little bit more. You know, we haven't heard anything from Luke Daly in a long time, from Kayla Day. Of course, the Kalela case kind of wrapped up a little bit, right? Kalela's going to treatment. You know, a lot of probation, but he's not serving any jail time. People were so shocked over the fact that he wasn't going to serve jail time. I wasn't shocked. I didn't think he was going to serve jail time, quite honestly. Did I want him to? Yeah, of course, right? It's not like I wish jail on anybody. However, when you do something like that in the middle of chaos and you bring more chaos to it, you deserve a punishment. But did I think that the justice system was going to give him any time? No, I just didn't. However, we saw what happened there. And, now we're just wondering, when is the real arrest coming? When will somebody really pay for what happened to Nancy Guthrie? Because it's quite obvious, most likely, that Nancy Guthrie is no longer alive. Now, I hope and I pray that she is, but I do not believe that she is. It's sad, but way too much time passed. I think that Nancy passed that same night. I do. And I question if she passed before she even made it out of the house. But the people that did this played with the Guthrie's minds. They, if I'm going to say it like this. If none of the family members were involved, then the person that did this ultimately toyed with the Guthrie family, with their mentality, with their minds, with everything. And this person needs to get held accountable. They need to be made an example of. And I actually just heard, a home invasion, another one happened in Phoenix. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now in Arizona. A lot of stuff going on. And Mr. Nanos doesn't want it to become public. He wants to keep all this stuff as quiet as possible. Because if you have all this stuff going on, it don't look so good for the sheriff now, does it? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But in my opinion, soon enough, Sheriff Nanos will be getting the fudge out. So hopefully that can rejoice. Hopefully a lot of people can be happy about that at least. But the question still remains, where is Nancy Guthrie? And who is the porch guy? Who are his accomplices? And why did this happen? If you're like me, you believe it was a targeted hit, right? But you might not believe that. You might think it's something else. Another reason. Maybe it was a robbery, right? Maybe, there's only so many possibilities, especially at this point. But that person's backpack had, in my opinion, stuff in it to clean up the crime scene. And the more time that goes by, that's just the more I think of. That's how I think of it more and more. Because this person did a very good job at not getting caught. And if it was just him, that would make some sense. But I don't believe it was just him. I don't. What do you guys think? Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys this question. How many people do you think were involved with this Nancy Guthrie unaliving and kidnapping? How many people were involved? And I'm talking from, if you guys believe there was a shot caller, then a driver, how many people do you guys think were involved? I really want to know what you guys are thinking right now. Flower said, Zach, you mentioned last live you're going to be moving. Did you find a place yet? Will you be able to do lives? Yes, I'm going to end up having to be moving. My landlord sold the house. He's getting up in age, so he wanted to sell the house. Kind of screwed us over big time, but it's okay. Didn't find a place yet. Need to find a place by the end of the month. And so that's my situation. I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But wherever I go, I'll still be doing lives. I'll make it happen no matter what, guys. But yeah, that's my situation. But we all go through things, we all go through things in life. But if you're rooting for me, I appreciate it because I need all of that. I need it all right now. Keep me in your prayers, guys. But yeah, let me know. How many people do you think were involved in unaliving and kidnapping Nancy Guthrie? And to me, the more time that goes by, me believe that they completely got rid of her body. And that's sad to say, but if you guys have been following me since my other channel and stuff, I said that I had a very clear vision of a field of fire that went on during the Nancy Guthrie unaliving. And I think they got rid of her body. And I know that's very tragic to hear, but I don't think they're going to find her body. And if they do, it's only going to be very fragments of it, in my opinion, which is super sad to say, but that's the way I see it. And as you guys know, I'm a realist, so I give it to you guys how exactly I think it is. Pause said 3 people. You know, very good guess. That's kind of the way I see it too, Pause. I think most likely 3 people. Most likely. Give me a second. I want to put something in the fridge. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Pause said, I still think Tommaso, Annie, and Luke Daly. You know, my sources are stating that one of the reasons that Nancy took a Uber home, or excuse me. I stated that wrong. One of the reasons that Nancy took an Uber there was because Tommaso wasn't home at the time. Now, I thought that was odd. Okay. Don't know how accurate that is, but I will note that, right? So I just wanted to note that on the live. But I think that there was a shot caller and then people that were handling getting rid of Nancy, unfortunately. But that's the way that I see it. Whether it was one shot caller like Tommaso and then 2 people doing it, or maybe Tommaso shot calling and then 3 people doing it. Something like that. That's the way I see it. Kelly said the live ended after I posted my last comment. No, we're still live. We're still live. I was just I ended up going to the fridge real quick. But no, we're still live, guys. Kelly said, in my opinion, I think that she disappeared after Christmas. Interesting. Very interesting. The possibilities are endless, but there's only so many possibilities, right? So, but this is one of those cases for the ages, right? It really is. But I will be posting my Summer Wells remote viewing session results video later on today. So look out for that, guys. Also, I'm covering the Nolan Wells case, and I've been covering that case. I'll still be covering that case. Kelly said, what are your thoughts, Zach, about my voicemail? You know, I'd have to hear it to really give you my input, but it sounds like people were messing around with you, right? It sounds like somebody was trying to prank you for some reason. Why? I'm not sure. But very suspicious, very strange, and make sure they don't call again. And if they do, then take it seriously. That's how I see it. But yeah, the Nolan Wells case is pretty crazy. Very crazy. There's a lot of eerie stuff going on in that case. And the next live, we'll talk more about the Nolan Wells case. So we didn't talk about it in this live, but I'm saving it for the next live for you guys. So like I said, look out for my new remote viewing session results video on Summer Wells coming out later on today. And my next live, we'll be talking about Nolan Wells in that case. But I think I'm going to wrap this one up here pretty soon, next 5 minutes or so. So we can talk about whatever you guys want to for the next 5 minutes. Any cases that you want to, anything that's on your mind in regards to true crime or anything in general. But I'm probably going to wrap this one up in about 5 minutes or so. So we're down to the 5-minute bell. Ding. Pause said, definitely Nolan Wells, some foul play. Yeah, you know, I think so too. I'm very worried about the independent autopsy, though, because if it only says that Nolan drowned, it's going to cause a lot of people to be angry, because I think people are expecting this independent autopsy to have some type of, cause and effect type thing when it comes to Nolan Wells' situation, right? I think that people are thinking it's going to show some type of violence that happened to him, right? Like maybe strangulation or, fighting. So, and it is quite interesting the way that I explained it. I believe that Nolan Wells was placed at a certain area. He didn't just swim and pass away, right? The current didn't grab him while he was drunk, drinking, and swimming, No, I think what happened was he was placed there. And I said this. Now, what has come out recently is a possible photo that either was taken the 27th or it was taken at 1 a.m. the night of everything. Well, I guess you would call it the morning after everything happening. Allegedly. Now, this would mean if this photo was taken on that day, it would mean that Nolan came back from the party, was in the pool party, something happened, and then they drove Nolan back to that area and left his body there. Now, I'm not ready to say that this is what happened yet, because we don't know for 100% certainty when that picture was taken. So we still don't know yet. Pause said, again, yet another case, he didn't have his cell phone. Yeah, his cell phone was found on an Xbox at his friend's, and The only reason that the cell phone was found was because a girl said that Nolan had put it on the Xbox. Now, what's fishy about that is, and we're dealing with people who aren't even good liars here, because what's fishy about that is the kid that Nolan's phone was on his Xbox. I guarantee you that kid uses that Xbox every day or every other day at the very least. And you're going to tell me that he didn't know right off the bat that Nolan's keys were on that. I mean, that Nolan's cell phone was on that Xbox, not his keys, his cell phone. I don't understand how that person didn't know that. And I don't believe in coincidences, as you guys know. So, strange stuff in the Nolan Wells case. Very strange stuff. And at the very least, I believe that if Nolan Wells wasn't unalived physically by somebody, I believe that he was left at an area and the people said, we can't talk about this, and that's the way they left it. And that's at the very least. That's if they didn't unalive Nolan. So I think we're dealing with people that have that know people in high places. I'm going to say it like that. Now, I did look at what this woman that practices law will say, and basically it's like family court. So it's not as like major as everyone was making it seem, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't know others like prosecutors. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. But it's really the prosecution that brings home everything, that hammers things in, right? So if this woman knows the prosecutor, that could be very bad for Nolan and his family. Now, if she doesn't, we'll have to see what happens. But I'm just throwing things out there, and we're going to see what happens in the near future, guys. But like I said, we're going to talk more about the Nolan Wells case in my next live. I might go live again today. It'll either be later on today or tomorrow. But expect another live coming from me soon. And of course, I'll keep you guys updated on the Lynette Hooker situation, Brian Hooker situation, the Siders family, of course, out of Ohio, the House of Horrors, and of course, the Nancy Guthrie case, as well as Lindsay Clancy, you know, as jury selection happens this upcoming Monday. And we're going to be staying on that case as well, out of Massachusetts. Paz said, what these teenage vacations have in common with these cases is these teenagers are always left alone and they are unalived. What time today? Yeah, another thing, Paz, is there's always some drinking involved, right? You know, or some illicit substances. You know, just stay away from the substances, guys, because you never know what situations could lead, right, in the future. You don't know what you're really even doing, right? And if you're young and you hear this, stay away from them, guys, because look at everything that's happening in the world. Look at all the people that aren't making it to even 30 years old or to even 20 years old, right? So keep your eyes open, keep your mind open, and keep your heart focused. And make sure that you don't go down a dark road, because that dark road sometimes leads to an ending, and that ending can sometimes be very dark itself. And you guys don't want that. Paul said, yes, drinking and substances, then sadly a teenager doesn't return home. Yeah. And it's been said that there was substances going on at Nolan Wells' situation too. So just one more case like that, guys. Very sad, very tragic. But pause. If I go live later on today, it will be around 1 p.m. Eastern. So maybe you get a little nap in, and then you get to catch another live from me. But yeah, if it's a little bit later, it'll be 1 p.m. Eastern today. And if not, it'll be about 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. But I think I'm going to give you guys another live today because there's more to be discussed. So I'm probably going to catch a little nap myself. I didn't sleep much last night. And yeah, guys, so I'm glad you guys were all here today. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate you guys liking the video and subbing up. Each and everybody makes a difference in this case and in these cases, and we can all do our parts. Kelly said, okay, it's my day off. I'm going to take my dogs out for a long run. See you later. Nice, Kelly. Nice. I'm sure your dogs are going to love that. Make sure you stay hydrated. Paul said, I'll be keeping up on the Nolan Wells case. Yeah, definitely check that out. Definitely check that out. And we'll be talking about it. That's the case we're going to be talking about right off the bat later on. So, all right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. But as you guys know we got a saying here. And if you don't know, you're about to find out. The saying goes a little something like this. Come on, say it with me now, guys. Without you guys, there'd be no me. I love you guys. It's Zach. Peace.